The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. No return address, no handwritten note, just thick white paper, and my name typed neatly across the front. I almost threw it away. I'd been getting junk mail all week, but something about this one made me stop. Inside was a wedding invitation, elegant, simple, expensive, the kind printed on heavy cardstock. I smiled before I even opened it. My little girl was finally getting married. I could already picture her calling me, "Dad, what do you think?" She had asked me that question her entire life, about dresses, about colleges, about apartments, about jobs, and now probably about flowers and seating charts. I opened the invitation. My smile disappeared. There was only one name listed under family, her mother's, not mine. I checked again, then a third time. Maybe I'd missed it. Maybe it was tucked somewhere else. It wasn't. At the bottom, someone had written one sentence in blue ink, not printed, handwritten. "Please don't come." I stared at those 3 words, over and over again. I didn't even recognize the handwriting, but I knew those words weren't my daughter's. They couldn't be. My name is Michael Turner. I'm 53 years old. I've spent 27 years as a commercial electrician. I've worked through blizzards, hurricanes, 12-hour shifts, weekends, birthdays, Christmas mornings. Not because I loved working, because I wanted my family and thus to have the life I never did. People always say, family comes first. I believed that. I still do. The problem is, sometimes you don't realize what putting family first costs until years later. When Lily was 6, I built her a treehouse. Nothing fancy, just plywood, a rope ladder, a little red mailbox she insisted we add to the side. Every Saturday, we'd climb up there. She'd pour imaginary tea. I'd pretend to drink it. She'd laugh every single time. She used to tell everyone, "My dad can fix anything." I believed. That included broken hearts. I was wrong. My marriage ended when Lily was 13. There wasn't cheating, no screaming matches, no dramatic courtroom battle, just distance, too much work, too many missed dinners, too many promises of, "I'll make it next time." Her mother, Karen, got primary custody. I never fought her. At the time, I thought stability mattered more than winning. I told myself, Lily knows I love her. That was enough. Or at least, I convinced myself it was. The first year after the divorce, Lily still called every evening, then every weekend, then only when she needed something. College applications, car insurance, tuition. I'd help every single time, not because I wanted credit, because she was my daughter. And fathers don't keep score. I picked up my phone. My thumb hovered over her contact. I wanted to ask one question. Did you really write this? Instead, I called straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. Then I texted, "Hey, sweetheart, I just got your invitation. I think there might be a mistake." No reply. An hour passed, then 3. By evening, my message still showed as delivered, not read. The next morning, my phone finally buzzed. My heart jumped. It wasn't Lily. It was Karen. Just one message. "Please respect her wishes." Nothing else. No explanation. No kindness. No anger. Just finality. I read it 3 times. Then I looked back at the invitation, at those handwritten words, "Please don't come." For the first time in years, I wondered if my daughter had been carrying a story about me that I'd never even heard, and if she had, who had been telling it. I didn't sleep that night. The invitation sat on my kitchen table. Every time I walked past it, my eyes landed on the same 3 words, "Please don't come." I kept asking myself the same question. Had I really become the kind of father his own daughter didn't want at her wedding? The next morning, I called my younger sister, Rachel. If anyone knew what was happening, it would be her. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, Mike, you okay?" I hesitated. "No." "I got Lily's wedding invitation. She sounded excited." "Oh, good. Isn't it beautiful?" I closed my eyes. "My name isn't on it." Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence. Then she quietly asked, "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not invited." Another pause, longer this time. Finally, she whispered, "Oh my God, you didn't know." That sentence hit me harder than the invitation itself. "What do you mean? I didn't know?" Rachel sighed. "I thought Karen had already told you." "Told me what?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she asked something strange. "When was the last time you and Lily actually talked?" I searched my memory, not texts, not birthday wishes, not Facebook comments, an actual conversation. Almost 11 months. I hadn't even realized it had been that long. Rachel's voice softened. Mike, Lily thinks you stopped trying. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was impossible. I called her. I texted. I sent birthday gifts. I drove 6 hours last Christmas, and she never answered the door. Rachel went quiet again. Then she asked, "Did you ever tell her that?" I frowned. "What do you mean? Did you tell Lily?" "You drove there?" I stopped. No, I hadn't. I'd turned around and driven home. I never wanted her to feel guilty. Rachel finally said, "Mike, I think you've been fighting a battle that Lily never even knew existed." After we hung up, I walked into the garage. There was an old plastic storage bin covered in dust. I hadn't opened it in years. Inside were birthday cards, school drawings, Father's Day gifts, every little thing Lily had ever made for me. Near the bottom, I found a small pink notebook. The cover read, "Daddy and Me Adventures." I smiled despite myself. Lily had made it in 3rd grade. Every weekend, we'd write down something we'd done together: fishing, camping, ice cream after softball practice, building the treehouse. Each page ended the same way, in huge, uneven letters. "Best day ever." The final entry stopped me cold. It wasn't finished. Only one sentence had been written. Dad said he'd come to my recital. The rest of the page was blank. I remembered that day. A transformer exploded at a hospital construction site. Half the city lost power. I worked 18 straight hours. I missed the recital. When I got home, Lily was already asleep. The next morning, I bought her a stuffed bear. I thought that made things right. Looking at that unfinished page, I realized something. To me, it had been one missed recital. To her, it had been the day. She stopped finishing the notebook. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Karen. "Please stop contacting Lily. She's happy. Don't ruin this for her." I stared at the screen. Then something caught my eye. The timestamp. Karen's message had arrived just 30 seconds after I'd texted Lily. 30 seconds? No one replies that fast unless they already have your messages, or they're the only one receiving them. For the first time, a thought crossed my mind that I'd never allowed myself to believe. What if some of my messages had never reached my daughter at all? I didn't answer Karen's message for the first time in years. I stopped trying to defend myself. Instead, I started looking for the truth. That afternoon, I drove to the old neighborhood, not because I expected to find answers, because memories have a strange way of pointing you toward them. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The maple tree out front was twice as tall. Someone had painted the porch. The white fence was gone. A young couple I'd never seen before were unloading groceries. Life had moved on. Just without me. I parked across the street, sat there for almost 20 minutes. Then something caught my eye. Mrs. Henderson, our old neighbor. She had to be in her 80s now, still walking the same little white dog, still wearing those oversized sunglasses. She stopped, looked through my windshield, then smiled. "Michael." I stepped out of the truck. She hugged me before I could say a word. "Oh my goodness. I thought you moved away." I forced a smile. "No, I just stayed away." She looked at me for a second, then asked quietly, "Have you talked to Lily?" I shook my head. "Not really." Mrs. Henderson sighed. I always hated seeing that. "What?" The way she'd wait. I frowned. "Wait for what?" "For you." I felt my heartbeat quicken. Mrs. Henderson pointed toward the old driveway. "Every other Friday, she'd sit right there on the steps, sometimes for an hour, sometimes longer." I couldn't speak. She always believed you were coming. I closed my eyes. Every other Friday. That was my visitation schedule. I was there, I whispered. I came. Mrs. Henderson looked confused. "No, not after the first year." I stared at her. "What?" She nodded. "Karen always told Lily you'd called to cancel." The world around me went completely silent. I searched my memory. Every canceled weekend, Every message Karen had sent. Mike can't make it. Work called. Maybe next weekend. At the time, I'd believed Lily knew the truth. I thought Karen had explained. Now, I wasn't sure she'd explained anything. Mrs. Henderson kept talking. I remember one afternoon. It started raining. Lily wouldn't go inside. Karen finally came out and told her, "Your father has better things to do." I couldn't breathe. No, Karen wouldn't. Would she? Then Mrs. Henderson said something that shattered everything I thought I knew. I almost told Lily. "I'd seen your truck." I looked up. "My truck?" She nodded. "You'd driven past." Slowly. "You stopped at the corner." "For a minute or two. Then you left." I felt sick. Christmas 5 years ago, I'd come to surprise Lily. No one answered. I assumed she wasn't home. I turned around, drove away. She had been there, waiting, the entire time. Mrs. Henderson frowned. "You didn't know?" I slowly shook my head. "No." She looked heartbroken. "Oh, Michael. There are some things a child should never have to believe." I thanked her, walked back to my truck, sat behind the wheel, didn't start the engine. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't angry anymore. I was grieving, not the divorce, not the wedding, the years that neither my daughter nor I would ever get back. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. "Hello?" A man's voice, calm, professional. "Mr. Turner?" "Yes." "My name is David. I'm the wedding planner." I frowned. "I'm sorry." He hesitated. "I know this is unusual, but I think there's something you need to see before Saturday." I looked at the unfamiliar number. The wedding planner? "Yes. My name is David Collins. I know this is unusual, but I don't think this phone call should be coming from me." "Then why is it?" He was quiet for a second. "Because I don't think your daughter knows." My heart skipped. "Knows what?" "That you're not coming." I gripped the steering wheel. "What do you mean?" David lowered his voice. "When we finalized the guest list, your name was included." I froze. "I'm sorry." "What?" "You were listed under father of the bride." For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. There has to be some mistake. "I thought so too," David replied. "But yesterday, I received an updated seating chart. Your seat had been removed." "Who removed it?" He hesitated. "I wasn't in the room, but the request came from your daughter's mother." I closed my eyes. "Did Lily approve it?" "I honestly don't know." "That's why I'm calling," David continued. "Mr. Turner, I've planned weddings for 18 years. I've seen divorced parents. I've seen family fights. I've even seen guests escorted out. But something about this doesn't feel right." I looked out through the windshield. Children were riding bicycles down the same street where Lily had once learned to ride hers, without training wheels. She'd fallen 3 times. The 4th time, she looked back at me and yelled, "Don't let go." I had already let go. She just hadn't realized it yet. David interrupted my thoughts. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "If your daughter called right now and asked you to walk her down the aisle, would you?" I laughed quietly. It wasn't really a laugh. "I'd leave this truck running and be there before she finished the sentence." David didn't speak. Then he quietly said, "I thought so." There was another pause. Then I heard papers moving. "I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but there's a rehearsal dinner tomorrow night. So, I have one empty place." I frowned. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that before everyone else tells your story, your daughter deserves to hear it. From you." I stared through the windshield. For the first time in almost a year, there was a chance. A small one, maybe impossibly small, but real. Then reality hit me. "What if she tells me to leave?" David answered honestly. "She might. What if she hates me?" "I don't know." "What if she refuses to listen?" Another pause. Then the sentence I needed to hear. "But what if she's been waiting for you to finally stop giving up?" I looked at the wedding invitation, still lying on the passenger seat. The words, "Please don't come." Suddenly, they didn't feel quite as certain anymore. Not because I'd convinced myself they weren't real, because for the first time, I wasn't sure who had actually wanted me to stay away. Before hanging up, David said one last thing. "Mr. Turner, there's something else." "What?" "When your daughter came to the venue last week, she stood in the ceremony room and asked me a strange question. I waited. She asked, 'Is it normal and to feel like someone important is missing?'" Even before the wedding has started, I slowly lowered the phone. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. For the first time since opening that invitation, I wasn't thinking about rejection. I was thinking about one question. If Lily truly didn't want me there, why was she asking strangers whether something felt missing? I barely slept that night. David's words kept replaying in my head. "What if she's been waiting for you to finally stop giving up?" For years, I'd convinced myself that staying away was the respectful thing to do. Now, I wasn't sure if it had simply been the easier thing. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled for 6 o'clock. I arrived at 5:30, not because I wanted to go inside, because I needed time to decide whether I had the courage to. The restaurant overlooked the river. White lights hung from the trees. Fresh flowers lined the entrance. Staff hurried back and forth, making sure every detail was perfect. Tomorrow, my daughter would be standing here, beginning a new chapter of her life, one I wasn't supposed to be part of. David spotted me almost immediately. He walked over, offering a nervous smile. "You came." "I almost didn't." "I know." He nodded. "I wasn't sure you would." He looked around before speaking again. "Listen carefully. Lily doesn't know you're here. I haven't told anyone. If at any point you want to leave, I'll understand." I nodded. "I appreciate that." He led me through a side entrance, not into the dining room, into a quiet hallway used by the staff. From there, I could hear voices, laughter, glasses clinking, music playing softly, life moving on without me. David stopped near a partially open door. "You'll be able to see everyone from here, but they won't see you." I swallowed hard. Then I looked inside. There she was, Lily. The last time I'd seen her in person, she was 24. Now, she was 29. Her hair was longer. She looked more confident, more like her mother than ever before. But when she laughed, I still saw the little girl who used to pour imaginary tea inside a treehouse. She looked happy, genuinely happy, for a brief moment. I wondered if coming here had been selfish. Maybe Karen was right. Maybe I would only ruin everything. I started taking a step back. Then, I heard my name. I still don't understand why Dad isn't coming. It was Lily. My heart stopped. Another woman answered, probably one of her bridesmaids. "I thought you said—" He declined. Lily frowned. "No." I never heard from him. Every sound around me disappeared. I couldn't hear the music anymore, or the conversations, only Lily's voice. I mailed the invitation 6 weeks ago. I even wrote him a note. I told him that I'd really like him there. I felt my knees weaken. "A note? What note?" One of the bridesmaids smiled. "Maybe he's still upset about the divorce." Lily shook her head. "No. He just stopped choosing me." The words hit harder than anything else. She truly believed it, not because she hated me, because she thought I'd walked away. I reached into my jacket. Slowly, carefully, I pulled out the invitation. My hands were trembling. I opened it, looked again. There, in blue ink, were the words I'd memorized. "Please don't come." I turned the card over. Nothing. Held it toward the hallway light. Nothing. Then, my thumb caught something. The paper felt thicker along the bottom edge, as if another piece had once been attached. Before I could look closer, the hallway door swung open. Karen stepped out. She froze. The color drained from her face. For 3 long seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered one sentence. "You weren't supposed to see her." Karen stared at me, like she'd just seen a ghost. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sounds of the rehearsal dinner continued just a few feet away. People were laughing, taking pictures, making memories, completely unaware that 27 years of my life were about to collide in a hallway. Finally, Karen exhaled. "You need to leave." I didn't move. I held up the invitation. "My daughter said she wanted me here." Karen's eyes dropped to the card, then to the handwritten words. She looked away. I said, "You need to leave." No. It was the first time I'd ever said that to her, calmly, without anger, without shouting. Just, "No. You owe me an explanation." Karen crossed her arms. "After everything that's happened. You think one conversation changes anything? I don't know. But I know one thing." I took another step closer. "Lily just told her friends. She invited me. So why did I receive this?" I held the invitation between us. Karen didn't answer. Instead, she asked a question. "Do you remember her piano recital?" I closed my eyes. "Yes. You missed it." "I know." "You promised you'd be there." "I know." "You remember missing one recital." Her voice cracked. "I remember watching my 13-year-old daughter scan every face in that auditorium until she realized her father wasn't coming." Every word landed exactly where it should, because she wasn't lying. That happened. I had missed it. I've regretted that day. For 16 years, Karen looked at me. "No, Michael, you regretted it." After it was over, she lived it. I lowered my head. There was nothing to argue with. She was right, not completely, but enough. After a long silence, I quietly asked, "So why?" Karen frowned. "What? If she invited me, why did this happen?" I pointed at the card, the missing note, the message, the guest list. "Why?" Karen's shoulders slowly dropped. For the first time, she looked tired, not angry, just tired. She leaned against the wall. "I didn't plan this. I waited. The first few years, I only wanted to protect her." "From what?" "Disappointment." She laughed bitterly. "You always had good reasons. Storms, emergency calls, double shifts, another job." I believed them. So did Lily. For a while, she looked toward the dining room, then back at me. "But every time you missed something, I was the one who had to explain why." "I never stopped loving her." "I know." Karen answered immediately. "I never doubted that." I blinked. "You didn't?" She slowly shook her head. "No. I doubted whether love was enough." That sentence hurt more than blame ever could, because deep down, I'd asked myself the very same question. Karen reached into her purse, pulled out a folded piece of paper. She stared at it for several seconds before handing it to me. "I've carried this for almost a year." I unfolded it carefully. It wasn't addressed to me, at least not officially. At the top, in Lily's handwriting, were the words, "Dad." I stopped breathing. Karen looked at the floor. She asked me not to mail it. I slowly looked up. "What?" She wrote it the night after we argued. "You argued?" Karen nodded. "About you." My hands began to shake. "You kept it?" She nodded again. I told myself I'd give it to you when the time felt right. I looked at her. "And did it?" Tears filled her eyes. "No. I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" She whispered. "That if you two finally talked, you'd realize how many years you both lost." Because I thought I knew what was best. I looked down at the folded letter. It was still sealed. I hadn't read a single word. Not yet. Just then, I heard footsteps. Someone was walking toward the hallway. A familiar voice laughed softly. Lily. She was only seconds away. Karen looked at me, then at the letter in my hands. Her face turned pale. "Michael, it's your choice now." The footsteps came closer, closer, closer. I could walk away. Again. Or, for the first time in years, I could stay. The footsteps stopped. I looked up. Lily was standing at the end of the hallway. She hadn't seen Karen. She hadn't seen the letter. She only saw me. For a second, her face went completely blank, like her mind couldn't accept what her eyes were seeing. "Dad?" It came out almost as a whisper, not angry, not happy, just confused. I felt every speech I'd rehearsed disappear. There was nothing clever to say, no perfect apology, no explanation that could erase 16 years. So I told her the truth. I wasn't going to come. Her eyes dropped. Then I continued, "Because I believed you didn't want me here." She frowned. "What?" I slowly held up the invitation. The note. The words, "Please don't come." Lily stared at the card, then reached for it. She looked at the handwriting. Her expression changed instantly. She turned it over, ran her fingers across the paper, then looked back at me. "I never wrote that." Silence. Heavy. Painful. Real. She looked toward her mother. Karen couldn't meet her eyes. "Lily, I can explain." But Lily shook her head. "No." Her voice trembled. "I've listened. For years. Now, I want to hear him." She turned back to me. "I wrote you a letter." "I know." I held up the sealed envelope. "I've never read it." She nodded slowly. "I asked Mom not to mail it." I frowned. "Why?" She looked down. "Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That you'd answer." I didn't understand. She wiped away a tear. "If you answered, I'd have to find out whether you still wanted me. And if you didn't, that would hurt even more." I stepped closer. Only one step. "I never stopped wanting you." Her lips trembled. "I thought you stopped choosing me." I shook my head. "Not one day. I chose work too many times. I chose silence too many times. I thought giving you space was the same thing as respecting you. I was wrong." Lily looked at me for several long seconds. Then she smiled through her tears. "Aunt Rachel told me once that Grandpa used to say, the strongest people aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who finally admit them." I laughed softly. "Sounds like him." She looked at the invitation again, then asked quietly, "So, are you busy tomorrow?" I couldn't help smiling. "I cleared my schedule." She laughed, the same laugh I'd heard from a little girl inside a treehouse more than 20 years earlier. For the first time, it sounded like home. The next afternoon, I stood at the front of the chapel, not in the audience, beside my daughter. When the music started, she slipped her arm through mine. Neither of us said anything. We didn't have to. Some moments don't need words. Halfway down the aisle, she whispered, "I'm glad you came." I smiled. "So am I." After the ceremony, Karen walked over. She looked exhausted. "I don't expect forgiveness." I nodded. "I'm not ready to give it." She lowered her eyes. "I know." Then Lily took both of our hands, not because everything was suddenly perfect. It wasn't. Some wounds take years to heal. But healing has to begin somewhere. 3 months later, there was a new picture on my refrigerator. Me, Lily, her husband, and a little wooden birdhouse we built together one Saturday afternoon. She looked at me, covered in paint, and laughed. "You still can fix anything, Dad." I smiled. "No." I looked at her. "But maybe we fixed the one thing that mattered most. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's this. Children don't need perfect parents. They need parents who keep showing up, even after mistakes, even after silence, even when they believe it's already too late. Because sometimes one honest conversation can give back what years of misunderstanding stole. Thank you for listening to this Reddit case file. If this story touched you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done if you were in Michael's place? Would you have kept trying or walked away after that invitation? Share your answer in the comments. And if you enjoy emotional Reddit-style stories about family, second chances, and impossible choices, don't forget to subscribe. There are many more stories waiting for you. Until next time, take care of the people you love. Sometimes you don't realize how much time has passed until you finally get a second chance. See you in the next Reddit case file.